All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome back. Occupy Fantasy. We're here with some MLB DFS picks, lineup advice, FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo, maybe if you're lucky. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, joined today by Chris, our MLB DFS writer. Chris, what's happening, man? Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, still not there yet, and with just an hour to go until the game, it sounds like, just based on what we've seen with other sports, this type of situation, they should play the game, but again, a little unnerving to not have a lineup just yet. So something we'll monitor, and we'll monitor throughout the show. If you guys see something that we haven't talked about yet, throw it in the chat, and we'll discuss it live here. But just something to keep an eye on, as the Blue Jays were one of our top stacks for the day. So what we're going to do here for the next 30 minutes or so, break down some of the top plays, talk about how to build lineups, talk about some items from the Daily Plug, occupyfantasy.com, maybe go through the model a little bit. We'll answer your questions as well. Any questions you have about MLB DFS or whatever it may be, just hop in the chat and we'll get there. So Chris, talk to me about this slate from a high level. Totally.
So
And
that's where
apparently,
I'm at.
apparently people couldn't hear you this entire time. And of course, that's me on the production end. So, um, guys, give us a thumbs up if in the chat if you can hear Chris now. Sorry about that. Very
Oh
professional,
well,
very professional level here. Um, while we wait for the confirmation, Chris, we'll recap what you said in a second. So, if
absolutely.
for those who are
Go.
watching, let us know if you can hear Chris now. I think you should be able to. I saw what was going on my end, and we should be good now. But a quick recap. So the Reds are playing in Arizona tonight. Arizona gets the weather bump, especially early in the season with all these other teams playing in cold weather situations. So, Chris, I think you're good now. So, give us just a quick 1 or 2 sentence recap of the 3 minutes you talked.
Basically, on the short slate tonight, we got a 6 game slate. I think we should narrow our focus. And normally we're stacking a bunch of teams, like a handful of teams. I think stacking like two or three makes sense if you're building 20 plus lineups on either FanDuel or DraftKings tonight. And obviously, if you're kind of reading and following along with what we have here, we think that the Reds are the team you should focus on the most, just with their team stack rating that's almost 80, as a combined OF index for the team. That's an outrageous number. I mean, I'm sure you can add more context to this, Brian, since you live and breathe the model and everything. But a 78 score as a team is like one of the highest all time, basically.
Yeah, it's incredibly high. Normally we look for 50 or 60 at the most, and if we get something over 80, we're hammering that, especially on a small slate like this. And if you listen to the podcast with Niramata a week or two ago, we talk about minimizing the number of things you need to get right. If you
Yep.
go heavy on the Reds tonight and they go off, you have a really good chance of taking down a tournament or a league or whatever you're playing. And the interesting thing to me, Chris, about the Reds and Arizona is Arizona, obviously, they're playing in the hot weather.
Mhm.
Arizona did install the humidor to try to limit some of the effects that the weather has, but a lot of teams have actually started installing the humidors. On the Cubs broadcast recently, there was like 8 new teams that have installed these humidors to kind of minimize the impact of the weather on the baseball. But again, we see we the model knows we've charted all the data as far as how balls are hit in Arizona. That edge is still there. And to me, Chris, the big thing, the confirmation on our lofty ranking of the Reds in the model is the fact that the money line's moving in Cincinnati's favor. Their team totals increased 0.31 runs since line open. So we have the Vegas backing as well, in addition to what the
Yeah, exactly. And it's really not that easy to kind of go any other directions tonight, is what I was trying to say. I mean, again, only a 6-game slate. Got to have kind of really both sides of this game popping in the model, frankly. I mean, obviously, we talked about the Reds a lot, but now that the confirmed lineup for the Diamondbacks is in, we obviously like some of the plays there as well. We did not project earlier today outfielder Cole Calhoun to be in the starting lineup for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but now that he is, he's actually one of the best FanDuel values on the slate. So just updated a couple minutes ago in our daily plug at occupyfantasy.com for baseball tonight. Cole Calhoun, one of our 3 best values on the slate. Our value hitters that we list, by the way, just in case nobody's kind of decoded this yet and you're new to kind of being here, it's typically hitters that are priced $3,000 or less on FanDuel. FanDuel's pricing is a little bit, quote unquote, I think softer than DraftKings. Example, Calhoun is almost is 3,900 tonight, so a little bit harder to get into your red stacks, I think, but certainly an interesting value, especially hitting near the top of the order. He's hitting second tonight.
love to see that.
So like that.
Let's see.
A
So
lot.
we got a question from Solid Picks in the chat. He said, "Who we looking at for pitcher on FanDuel tonight?" And Chris, as pitchers go, FanDuel, that's the one spot you have to get right because there is only one spot. It's not like DraftKings where you have the 2 spots, and the wins and quality start are worth a little bit more to strikeouts or compared to strikeouts than it is on DraftKings. And no pitcher really stands out in the model tonight. I'm going to do a quick refresh, bring up the model here. But who are you looking at if you're looking for that one sole pitcher slot on FanDuel? Let's just say you're making one lineup.
I like Zach Plesac with the Indians tonight, Brian. I still don't think this Tigers team is very good. You'll notice in our model that his strikeout per innings pitched projection is just under 1 per inning. And he's not the highest on the slate. He's obviously behind McCullers, behind Musgrove, even behind Andrew Heaney in that respect. But on FanDuel, if you're really looking to just kind of get a quality outing out of your starting pitcher, you've got a guy like Zach Plesac, who is, again, a huge moneyline favorite, minus 205 against the Tigers. And Plesac is known to go deep into games. Last year pitched 55 and a third innings for the Indians, averaged close to 7 innings per start. I mean, we got to get to 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less to get those quality start points over there on FanDuel. Plesac looks like one of the pitchers who has the best chance, not only to get the win, not only to get a decent amount of strikeouts tonight against these Tigers, but also get you that quality start and that win. And all those points really start to stack up for your starting pitcher. So if I was building one team on FanDuel tonight, I would focus on Zach Plesac.
Yeah, biggest money line on the slate, minus 205. The money line's moved a little bit in the Indians' favor, 10 cents. So love to see that as well. And to me, when it's at the top of the model and you're building one lineup on FanDuel, or you're looking for the pitcher to have the most exposure to on FanDuel, or your low risk pitcher on FanDuel, to me, I look to the top of the model. If someone stands out, I'm gonna go ahead and select them. But if it's kind of jumbled up like it is tonight, we see 4 guys between 12 and 14 OF index at the top of the model. Look for the guy with the highest money line, and if we get that extra boost of the money line move in their favor, then even better. So Plesac definitely fits the bill. So Solid Picks, he would be the guy I would choose as my FanDuel pitcher for tonight. Chris, what about on DraftKings? Who are some of these other top guys that you're looking at to get into your number 2 or even your number 1 pitcher slot on DraftKings?
Yeah, well, we don't have to get too far away from what our model is showing everybody here, right? I do like Lance McCullers a lot as well. I mean, obviously sticking with the top two in our model is probably fine if you're building one team. If you're building, like 20 or more teams tonight, I think you want to try to get to at least 4 guys in your lineup pool, if that makes sense. Joe Musgrove with the San Diego Padres. He's a favorite tonight, has a decent strikeout projection. I would mix him in. I'm personally skipping over Andrew Heaney entirely. We are monitoring this Blue Jays situation tonight with one of their players being placed on the COVID injured list. Who knows? It sounds like the game's still going to happen, but either way, if it does happen, we actually like the Toronto hitters a lot tonight. So for that reason, I'm not a big fan of Heaney. If you've got the daily plug pulled up, pardon me, I'm not actually watching that version of the stream you have going on here. Actually talked a little bit about just how poorly Andrew Heaney has pitched over the last year plus for the Angels. Just not super encouraging. The one thing that he does right is he gets the strikeouts. So if he limits hard contact, if he isn't, letting guys on base and letting those runs across the plate, he can rack up some fantasy points. But I'm steering clear tonight with him for value. I like Charlie Morton with the Braves as another option. So me personally, that's kind of what I did here tonight. I stuck with those 4 pitchers for my MME pools: Lance McCullers, Zach Plesac, Charlie Morton, and Joe Musgrove.
I like that too. And Heaney is the ultimate definition of high risk, high reward. 7,300 on DraftKings. Strikeouts per innings pitch projection above 1, which is what we look for. But the opposing team total is 5 runs. Like, the Blue Jays are expected to score 5 or more runs according to Vegas, and that team total's moved about 1/10 of a run in the Blue Jays' favor, which isn't great either. Again, Heaney really only reserved for the largest field type contest. Another question in the chat is weather pushing you towards or off any game tonight? Chris, obviously the weather out in Arizona is pushing us towards those bats, but is there any other weather situations you're looking at to maybe avoid or to target pitchers or hitters in?
We have a 40% chance of rain projected for the Phillies and the Braves in our model tonight, but we're always pretty transparent about this one thing here at Occupy, guys. We're not weathermen. We don't know what we're really talking about with that stuff. So we do kind of go and look at what our kind of friend, if you will, Kevin Roth over at Roto Grinders has to say about the weather. And he agrees Philadelphia at Atlanta tonight is the riskiest spot, but it's really, even there, it's not a big deal. He actually thinks the rain should clear out for the game tonight and that there should be really no quote unquote factor as far as cancellations concerned there or anywhere else this evening. So from a weather perspective, just take advantage of the anticipated bump in production we expect for bats at Chase Field in Arizona tonight and focus on that game with your hitters especially. That's what I would do. That's what I am doing. So there you go.
And it's a surprisingly good night for hitters, considering that it's early April. Arizona gets the 13% boost, and what you're looking at on the screen here is our free weather dashboard attached to the model, occupyfantasy.com. The Houston game, getting a 5% boost, winds blowing out to right field. And then Texas, mid-80-degree weather as well, and the winds blowing out to center field. So we actually surprisingly get some decent boost tonight for the bats. If you're trying to break ties or you're not using the model, those are 3 hitter-friendly games to use for your stacks in MLB DFS tonight. For those who just joined, if you like what you see, go ahead and click that subscribe button right below the video. Get notified whenever we go live here on YouTube. We're doing a live UFC stream tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. For whatever God knows reason, the slate locks at 11:30. The card starts at 11:30, so early 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll be here breaking down UFC. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. And if you want to talk to us more, talk to other OccupyFantasy.com members, get access to be able to use Occupy Fantasy emojis during the live streams and the live chat, go ahead and click the join button right below the video. $2.99 a month gets you access to the Occupy Fantasy YouTube membership. Help support us another way. Swagler Ken in the chat, if you were building 3 lineups, would you use 5-man reds in all 3? So, Chris, I think this is a good discussion. I've primarily been focusing on 3 max type strategy early on in the season. It was my best ROI last year. So I think a lot of people build roughly that number of lineups, 1 to 3 lineups in MLB, right? You're playing 100-player leagues on FanDuel, you can hit the 3 max total right there. So I know you mostly play 20 max, but if you're building 3 lineups, any thoughts on how much you should use a stack or how you should allocate your teams and your pitchers when you're only building 1 to 3 lineups?
when we project such a huge edge for a team like we project for the Reds tonight, I mean, obviously you can let me know what you're doing. I don't want to completely give it away, but I would probably use a primary red stack, whether that's 4 or 5 hitters in all 3 of my 3 max lineups, and just take a step back from that and just talk about process in general. When I pilled 20 max lineups for DraftKings, and I'm actually playing 150 max on FanDuel this year. They've got this nickel contest, which is just, I don't know why they're offering it, frankly, because it never fills. So it's overlay sitting in that contest. So for those of you who are aspiring to learn how to MME a little bit better, test some things out like I am, pretty good opportunity to try that over on FanDuel, where it's only, what is that, $7.50 to 150 max a contest every single night. That's a kind of a great investment in learning a new skill in the DFS land, if that makes sense. Leaving that aside, we like our boy Niramata said with PGA, you want to minimize the things that you have to get right. Tonight, our model is screaming at us that the Reds is the right thing to do. I'm not overthinking that personally. I typically kind of build 1 to 3 teams before I even build any MME builds for the rest of my lineups, if that makes sense. So that's sort of how I start to really kind of figure out who my top players are going to be. And then also, I mean, it really does influence our plug content. Myself, Brian, our other MLB writer this year, Michael, we kind of talk all day, every day about these slates, and we kind of go through some initial builds and stuff like that. And that's really how we end up putting this stuff together to talk to you guys about, for you to read, for us to talk about on these streams, is we try to kind of build the best teams we can early in the day. And all day today, at least for me, Brian, it has been Reds in every single build I've tried to put together. So I'm not overthinking this and trying to be smarter than all the tools that we have at our disposal. I'm just going all in on it personally.
Yeah, that answers the question in the chat. The better stacking option: Reds, Indians, or Angels. Overwhelming answer for the Reds, at least at OccupyFantasy.com today.
Yeah.
And
really quickly, Brian, just kind of clear the air on this. We did get a Blue Jays lineup a few minutes ago.
Okay.
So it looks like they are definitely going to play tonight. Looks like our model is fully updated for that. So if anything major has changed, I don't think it has. We'll update the plug after the show ends here for you, but it does look like the Blue Jays are still our number 2 stack on the night in the model. So there you go.
Cool. And I'm bringing that up in the model now just to see. For those of you who have access to the model, you'll see the P/C column towards the right-hand side. And when a lineup is actually confirmed, each player will get the check mark, let you know that lineup is definitely going to happen. Earlier in the day, before lineups are in, you'll have the P symbol projected. They're pretty accurate, but again, we want to get confirmed lineups, and now we see that Toronto is confirmed in the model. Just a minor change with Teoscar Hernandez being out on the COVID list. Back to the 3 max discussion talk, and yeah, on a night like tonight where there's one team head and shoulders above the rest, I'll use them more frequently, and whether that's fully in 5-man stacks or as complementary stacks as well. Yes, on slates where it's a little closer towards the top of the stack dashboard, really what I'd like to do for myself, and again, had great success with it last year, and I've had great success with it over on Yahoo so far this year in the Yahoo Challenge, is just fully stacking each of the top 3 teams or top 2 to 4 teams, whatever it is. And if one of those teams goes off, I have a chance of taking down my league or my small GPP that I'm in. So, Chris, if you weren't playing the Reds tonight, any other teams that you're looking towards or any other complementary stacks besides? I know we talked about the Blue Jays, and we wrote up a couple more in the plug, but anyone else that sticks out to you?
I like the Cleveland Indians tonight, especially that pairing of, who was it tonight? Eddie Rosario and Jose Ramirez. I mean, they didn't actually crack our plug content, so to speak, as a top stack tonight, but that duo right there does kind of make sense to me as a mini stack to pair with, your primary stacks, your Reds lineups tonight. It actually is going to require you to kind of opt out of playing a couple of the top Reds hitters, but that's, to me, that's actually good. I mean, I think everybody's going to kind of rush to try and jam 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters, from Cincinnati in their lineups. You get a Jose Ramirez in there at third base. It is going to force you to do things a little bit differently. I'm kind of looking at, Tucker Barnhart at catcher tonight, especially. He's hitting towards the bottom of the order for the Reds, but I know our boy Moose, sure he's watching, got that little wraparound stack action going on with the Reds. If you get Barnhart in your lineup with the rest of the top Reds hitters, you can get the 8 hitter and then go back to the top of the order after the pitcher there. So definitely kind of to answer the question, I know I'm kind of rambling now at this point. I like the Indians as a secondary stack tonight a lot, and the Houston Astros as well. Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve, two of the better hitters there. Things have moved around in our model, Brian, but I was earlier in the day, and actually, I mean, I think these guys are still in the top 15 or close to that in the model, both of them. We've got Joey Gallo and Nate Lowe with the Texas Rangers. That also looks like a kind of an interesting mini stack pairing option tonight. They hit right next to each other in the order, so that's nice correlation. The only thing to be careful of there is they're pretty close, or they're facing, I should say, Joe Musgrove, who's also one of our top pitchers tonight. So, but that's baseball, right? We're going to have these kind of rankings where we like both sides of a game, and we just kind of have to make choices sometimes.
Yeah, just don't play them in the same lineup, please. But you'll notice the common theme here is the really good weather situation. Cincinnati and Arizona, Houston in the hot weather, wind blowing out, and that Texas mini stack, wind blowing out, mid 80 degrees out in Texas. And yeah, you talked about Cincinnati. The nice thing is they're super flexible because literally all 8 of their hitters have the ISO threshold that we look for above 170. So you can kind of prioritize your secondary stack in a sense and pick your favorite 3 or favorite 2 hitters outside of the Reds and then build around that because you can literally play any of the 8 Reds hitters and they're technically a good play in high risk contests according to our model. So yeah, and like Ken says in the chat, he got Gallo Low and Matt Olson and Jed Lowry as his secondary stacks. Nice little 3-4 stacks there. I actually have a little bit of that myself. Chris, we got 8 minutes left here. If anyone that's watching still has any questions, you can hop in the chat. Chris, you've been playing Yahoo some, right? I wanted to hear your opinion on that format over there.
A little bit here and there. I like the I like that they offer these free leagues and they have these free rolls once a week with different sports. We've got obviously a couple going on tonight with Major League Baseball and NBA. I know their season's kind of coming close to winding down, but Friday night has been free roll night for Yahoo. They do this for the other sports. They do that for NFL. They have them for PGA. They run their like sport specific cups. I think they call them, and there is like a season long leaderboard and a prize for that. But there's also cash prizes every single week. So if you want to jump into the Yahoo DFS streets, this is actually one of I think the easier kind of websites right now to grind up a bankroll on, which is a great segue to obviously, I know you just dropped your latest update to your bankroll challenge over on Yahoo. In addition to the free leagues, Brian, I mean, I do tend to focus on those quick matches. I mean, they're essentially rake-free head-to-heads. I like those as well. I mean, that's pretty much what I focus on when I play on Yahoo. I'm a pretty casual Yahoo player. I focus more on FanDuel and DraftKings, but to be honest with you, maybe I should focus more on Yahoo. It does feel like it's a little quote-unquote easier.
Yeah, you can. The head-to-head matchups are great, right? You normally get some pretty weak competition, and then and the pricing makes it really weird, which I did talk about in the article today. You can just click you can go to my Twitter, or you can look on the website under the guides. There's a Yahoo Bankroll Challenge series, and it's in today's article specifically talked about the pricing structure on Yahoo. Chris, I love the fact that a starting pitcher can be $60, but the cheapest hitter like tonight is $7. And to give away a little bit of the secret, what I've been doing, just fully stacking our top stacks and try to fit in the cheap underpriced hitters around them, just filling them with $7 guys, and then filling in with our top pitchers from there, and it's been working pretty well so far.
I was going to ask you not just about Yahoo too. I mean, I know we kind of wrapped up the 3 entry max discussion and we talked about stacks, but I wanted to ask you kind of what's your typical, general pitcher strategy, right? I mean, I know some nights we get, 1, 2, or even 3 guys that just are so far ahead of the others in the model. And it's like, all right, well, I'll just use, these 2 guys every single time on DraftKings, or I'll just use this one guy in each of my 3 lineups on FanDuel. I mean, do you have kind of different criteria you're looking for? Are you, I'll tell you kind of how I approach it when I play that way. I try to just run the same pitchers in all of my lineups. If I think that these are the best pitchers on the night, then those are the guys I'm going to go with. Again, it kind of goes back to that minimizing the things that you have to be right about on a nightly basis for me, but I don't know if there's some different way that you approach it.
No, that's pretty much what I do. If I'm making 3 lineups, and I may not have them in all 3, but let's just say there's 3 pitchers I like, and I'll rotate them in through all three lineups equally, or sometimes it depends on the stack structures too, right? Sometimes I get really expensive stacks and I can only use the one cheap pitcher that's viable, and I'll put him in all 100% and just hold my breath every time he takes the mound. So, but to your point, and I think this goes for a lot of people making a small number of lineups. Yeah, I'm pretty much going all in on just a handful of pitchers. One pitcher maybe on FanDuel or on DraftKings where I mostly play, 2 to 4 pitchers, and just get as much exposure as I can instead of trying to spread it out thin. Unless the only rare cases where I will have a bunch of different pitchers in my 3 max lineups is if the prices of the stacks I'm using are so different and there's a jumbled mess at the top of the pitcher dashboard. That's the only way. But I think the key here is making a limited number of lineups. Just have a handful of pitchers that you do use. Your results will be better in the long term. And that's what I've done over the past few years playing MLB with great success. So
Yeah, I love to hear that, man. And I'll tell you what, I tend to just flat out trust our rankings here for the top pitchers every single night, unless something just looks like a glaring error. Because pitching is just way easier, to project. So when I see, we like Lance McCullers and Zach Plesac, more than everybody else tonight by a decent amount, not a wide amount, by a decent amount. I tend to trust that. Way easier to project pitcher performance. They're throwing, nearly 100 pitches every single outing. We just have a larger sample of work from pitchers. Pitchers are way easier to kind of nail and forecast than hitters are on a nightly basis. So I think it's actually easier to lock pitchers than it is hitters, frankly.
absolutely. I mean, just so much variance with a hitter. The top hitter play can easily go 0 for 5. Very rare for a starting pitcher to vastly underperform his projection. Again, like you said, it's very, very projectable. So, all right, guys, we got 3 minutes left. Any rapid fire questions? Get them into the chat now. Chris, any final thoughts on this slate or the MLB season so far in general?
We're just settling in, guys. I mean, it's been a week of slates. We've got, what is it? I mean, 162 games for each of these teams, but I think the season is like 170 some odd days long. We've got probably about 162 days left. I mean, take it easy. If you see a slate like tonight, obviously Brian and I are both playing. We're true degenerates. We love these things. But I know like initially you'd look at this slate and say, there's just not a lot of great plays. You don't have to play if you don't like the slate. There's going to be more baseball tomorrow. That's kind of how a sport like this goes. So we do like this slate. We do like stacking the Reds. We do like the pitchers that we have at the top, but that's more of a general tip, general advice. You don't feel pressured to kind of keep up with us and play every single day. Certainly not necessary, especially when you get into some of these slates that will come up in the future that are kind of only 4 and 5 games and there's like no good pitchers available. It's okay to opt out of slates. I'm not at that burnout level yet personally here, Brian. I'm still super excited about these games. I do feel like this weekend, especially, we're going to get some good pitching slates. So I think we have the aces coming back around soon for all of these teams. And honestly, it'll be good once, it'll be even better, I should say, once kind of days off for some of these clubs mix things up and we get, as we get to a point where we get a different ace that we can focus on pretty much every single night once the schedules really kind of fall into place for all the different clubs.
Yeah, and it is a marathon, right? It's an absolute grind until the NFL season starts. It's okay to take days off, and I know everyone's super excited about MLB. We'll see how that sentiment changes after you stacked the Reds like 40 straight nights. It gets pretty tiring.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the situation, we've spent the last half hour touting Cincinnati tonight, and frankly, full transparency here, we were in the same situation like 2 or 3 days ago with a very similar ranking in our model with the Minnesota Twins, and it was a complete disaster. So those things happen in baseball. We still have full confidence in our model, and we know, and that's why we trust it. That's literally why we sell merchandise, is to trust it. Eventually, it is going to pay off. Came pretty close last night. We're hoping to get over the hump tonight.
Yep, exactly, and that just goes to show how high risk of a sport baseball is. You have to practice proper bankroll management, contest selection, because you're going to have droughts every single year in baseball, regardless of which source you use. Just got to make sure you have enough money to power through it and manage your money the right way. So that'll do it for this show. We appreciate everyone listening and tuning in. Again, we'll be back 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be joined by Jake of MMADFS.com to break down tomorrow's, for whatever reason, super early UFC DFS slate. If you like what you see here, make sure you click the subscribe button on YouTube. Get notified as soon as we go live on YouTube or if we upload any new videos. Give us a thumbs up, show your appreciation. And if you want to talk to us on Discord, go ahead and click the join button right below the YouTube video. You'll get access to our YouTube membership, just $2.99 per month. Get you access to our Discord channel where you can chop it up with other members and our staff. So for Chris, you can follow him on Twitter at CDR02989. You can follow me at BrianJesterFF. You can follow us at Occupy Fantasy. We appreciate everyone listening, and good luck tonight.